Martha Koome has failed. It's not about hate, it's about her in bed with a corrupt system. Resigned, nothing to do with the the reasons that she had given. You were into victims were in the street beaten for protesting. He meant yesterday's breaking up of the protest. Gabi Wakasiaka says the Supreme Court is plunging the country into judicial anarchy. The shield of justice and constitutionalism have been broken. Kenya is heading into the path of total dictatorship. John Wayato says, my case ran for 8 years from 2012 to 2020. The case was heard by 4 different magistrates in its lifetime. The case was characterized by magistrates attending seminars a lot. Remember, pay my lawyer per attendance of any court proceedings. Justice is expensive. Our underscore says that had become a dent on Kenya's reputation as a safe haven. Dan Okach, given what we have talked about, there's also the exogenous pressure on the judiciary from the executive and the notable statements that have been made as being an activist judiciary and a tussle. What does this then mean in terms of adding a layer of complexity on an infight within of allegations of corruption and addressing the issues in-house, and this at times exogenous pressure from the executive? What does it portend for the arm of the government that is seen by Kenyans as the remaining hope for them to clutch on?
Yeah, in fact, you've captured it very well in that last sentence, because Kenyans, have put all their hopes in the judiciary. And when all else fails, they look at the judiciary. And the decision by the judiciary is a decision that Kenyans will embrace. And they can only embrace it when they believe that the judiciary has made it in a very fair way and in a manner that it has not been influenced. Therefore, when these allegations of corruption, which have been admitted by the Chief Justice, come into play, the bigger question is that, we don't need to sit and wait for it to continue, because judiciary corruption is a cancer within the judiciary. And the moment we keep quiet, it can only grow. And the essence is that it is important, and it behoves the Chief Justice as a president of that particular institution to actually inform Kenyans of what steps, tangible steps that are being taken to rid the judiciary of corruption. The moment we also have, on this other side, the issues that the judiciary also depends, on funding, which must go to Parliament. It also means that as much as we put all our hopes in this judiciary, there was a problem. Because I've said we should have anchored the funding of the judiciary, just like we've anchored it, the funding of the counties in the Constitution, so that it will have been automatic, a certain percentage, so that it cannot be every time a threat by Parliament, a threat by the executive, that we will actually, deal with you. And I've always said, the moment you deal with the judiciary, you don't punish Martha Koome or any judge. You actually punish this mwananchi who is a partaker of these judicial services, to ensure that their lives continue in a very fair way, and even the economy itself is actually spurred. But the moment then you come and find that this tool is still retained, there is a problem. And that's why, in my view, I have a big issue, of course, with the fact that now we are being told it's BBI 2.0. Of course, it reads a lot, or it tells you about the Kenyan politics, which is about selfish interests, and which is our politics is not principled politics, and such that it is fraught by hypocrisy. And because none other than the people in this regime today are the ones who opposed, But to a large extent, we must agree that there will be need for some reforms. And those are some of the avenues that can be used to at least correct what we have seen that is not working, and maybe we may be able to deal with that going forward. But if we don't deal with those issues now, I can assure you, in terms of the judiciary, and looking at the status that we have in terms of the confusion at IEBC, which I believe the courts should have prioritized. You see, if Gachagwa's case would have been done in a magical time and the files transferred at night, then even this matter of IEBC, what then stops these matters being prioritized, dealt with, and to a large extent you find that the judiciary by itself will not have still gained confidence enough when then the troubles that we will inevitably face if we don't deal with this thing today will actually come.
Yeah, and Council Harvey, the meeting between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his successor, President William Ruto, given what we witnessed with the handshake in 2018, which gave birth to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, the BBI, which the three levels of the judiciary, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court had said it was illegal, unconstitutional, null and void ab initio. And not nice words, especially from the Court of Appeal, with Daniel Musinga, the president then of the court, saying this was no ordinary amendment, but a dismemberment of the Constitution, and that the courts are alive to this. How alive should the judiciary be to this coming together of President William Ruto and his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta, given what we witnessed in the last account, and the common trait among Kenya's political class and these graduates from the Kanu School of Government?
The dichotomy of the issues you've raised are as follows. First and foremost, I'm an ardent supporter of Dr. William Samoei Ruto. We put him in office. But what Dr. William Samoei Ruto has failed to do is to drive with the front windshield. He's always looking back at the rear view mirror. Sometimes necessary, but this time unnecessarily. He needs to go forward, assembling individuals who are of zero use to this enterprise will collapse his administration. That is insofar as he's concerned. I believe he'll find time to listen to some of this advice. It may sound a little bit stupid and demanding a shut-up, but it is good. Drive with the front shield without necessity of looking back. To the judiciary, I think we are not at a point of no redemption. The glory of the judiciary has been lost, but we only have one judiciary. So we must recalibrate, reconstruct it, and have it functional. The Supreme Court was the biggest failure on the BBI case. The building blocks that were created by the High Court and the Court of Appeal were just thrown like this, and it's just by sheer fluke, passage of time, that the BBI was not implemented. If the aggressors wanted to implement it, they would have, but for want of time. I don't take Moses Kuria very seriously. Okay. Nobody should ever take him very seriously. Kenyans should be more informed. And I repeat, we have between 10 to 12 million Kenyans of the age bracket of 10 to 30 years. These are informed people. They're not Mamamboga. Yeah, they're not Mamamboga and Boda Boda. They constitute our children. My daughter is turning 18. She'll be voting in the next election. She's well schooled. She knows the budget. She knows legislation. She knows everything. They are about 10 to 12 million. These are the people that should spur change in this nation. And change everywhere, in the executive, in the judiciary, in the legislature. It cannot be that the judiciary is immune to criticism. And as I close, I say this with a heavy heart. You, magistrate, who absconded court to go to a radio show, you're doing a disservice to Kenya. You, judge in Meru, who will not sit for 17 days in December, you're doing a disservice to people of Kenya. You, lady judge in Machakos, who hardly sits, and whenever you sit, you just adjourn matters, you're doing a disservice to people. And here you are today, gathered at the Safari Park on a human rights conference. What right is greater to a Kenyan than the right to access to justice, the right to have your cases determined by a fair court or tribunal expeditiously?
All right.
This has to be done.
And
no, there's a judge in Meru who has issued notices back to back that he will not be sitting from 1st to 10th, and then from 13th to 17th. We go on vacation on the 18th. When will he sit?
Which is 14 days of work.
Yes.
Okay.
Half a month's salary.
Okay. We'll sample the feedback shortly and see what Kenyans are saying on the hashtag at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya. We'll be getting to that shortly. Demas, what do you make of all this and human rights violations, abductions, extrajudicial killings, and which seems to fascinate the political class at the campaign stage, but in terms of actual implementation, there seems to be no follow-up with regards to ending these vices?
Well, I think at the core of this struggle is that in 2010, Kenyans gave themselves a constitution that was largely supposed to restrain the state from doing certain things to people, and also domicile power with the people. If you look at most of the constitutional amendments attempts or bills that have come through Parliament after that, starting with the Security Laws Amendment Bill in 2014, you realize that there has been an attempt to recalibrate, to take back that power by the political class. The big culmination of that was the BBI, which was really supposed to redefine that relationship between the people and the people who lead them, right? And so what we are saying with the coming together of the political class is yet another attempt, and perhaps the Kenyans and the judiciary should be wary in terms of what is happening. Yes, we love our leaders to be together for peace purposes, but in terms of the sanctity of our constitution, of the social contract, we have to be very vigilant to ensure that that the promises that we gave to ourselves in 2010 are not defeated.
Okay. Yes, Dan.
Yes, I think it is important that, everything goes wrong in terms of our politics. And when we do not have principled politics, there is a problem. When Uhuru Kenyatta had told Kenyans that he did not support William Ruto, he gave reasons, both in English, Kiswahili, and mother tongue. And key among those was that, there is pilferage, there is, we can't trust this person, And when they met, it will be important for him to tell us, did they raise those issues? Did he address those issues? If they decide that they will sit together and dine together, it will be important for us to first know whether now the issues he raised have been resolved. When Raila Odinga was opposing William Ruto's candidature, he gave us a lot of reasons, And even when William Ruto ascended to presidency, thanks to the so-called hustlers and Nelson Harvey here, Raila Odinga continued to tell us.
he said now he's officially
I'm talking about
off that train, and he's now farming. It's some good farming practice.
Yes. Raila Odinga continued castigating this government on key issues. Then all of a sudden now they are in bed together. It will then, the bigger question that the Mwananchi down there and their supporters ask is what then has changed? Unfortunately, things are the same. Adani deal is there, Raila Odinga becomes the biggest defender of that thing. You find that what happened yesterday, shamelessly, when we are commemorating a very important day, that's the day the police go out and start beating people. And the government does nothing about it, because today we should have been seeing people being sacked. We saw people harassing Citizen TV crew outside DCI. No one has been sacked. We do not know what disciplinary measures have been taken. This thing will continue to grow, and that is what we call megadeath syndrome, that sikio la kufa halisikii dawa. They need to wake up. If they don't, it will be at that megadeath syndrome state, and of course, it is up to Kenyans now to make decisions in 2027.
Okay, let's now take a look at the sample and get your brief remarks regarding what the public is saying. The hashtag Gabi Okasiaka says the Supreme Court is plunging the country into judicial anarchy. The shield of justice and constitutionalism have been broken. Kenya is heading into the path of total dictatorship. John Wayato says, my case ran for 8 years from 2012 to 2020. The case was heard by 4 different magistrates in its lifetime. The case was characterized by magistrates attending seminars a lot. Remember, pay my lawyer per attendance of any court proceedings. Justice is expensive. Our underscore says, CJ Martha Koome has failed. It's not about hate, it's about her in bed with a corrupt system. Resign, nothing to do with the the reasons that she had given. You were into victims were in the street beaten for protesting. He meant yesterday's breaking up of the protest. Council Harvey, talk about the government side always complains about judicial activism. Here there is someone who points out judicial dictatorship. Is there a dichotomy between the two? And the length the case is
you know, if I had a microphone,
yeah,
I would just drop it like Barack Obama.
Okay.
Those 3 Kenyans have spoken for all Kenyans. We are now experiencing the dictatorship of the judiciary. It is the dictatorship of the judiciary because we forward concerns, they're brushed aside, they're treated as cyberbullying, they are treated as discrimination against women. It is wrong. And the Chief Justice and the judges, and I say this informedly because I know these judges and magistrates who will want to be vindictive. I defend judges and magistrates. There is no lawyer in the Republic of Kenya who has defended judges and magistrates more than yours truly, Talemwa. And by the same measure, it is for good cause that I seek to align what you judges and magistrates do. And even this Martha Koome, should she ever be unfairly targeted as day succeeds night, I'll be the first lawyer to defend her. So when we raise these concerns, please resolve them. Otherwise, people will take the law into their hands. And don't ask me under what provision of the Constitution. Yesterday night, the people of Syria hung the son of President Assad. Under which law did they do it?
The cousin.
Yeah, in Arabic, we don't have...
in Latakia.
Yeah. They hung him. Under which law? So don't ask us, under which law will you remove Martha Koome? We'll remove
Syria
her.
was a dictatorship. Kenya is a secular constitutional state, Council Harvey.
Ayub, the people of Kenya, 3 of them have said we have a dictatorship of the judiciary. Not my words, their words.
But in practice, that can't happen in Kenya, you know that. You have to be subject. Nelson Harvey, however much the crimes he commits, he is innocent until proven guilty, and if it does so, then the process must be, he must be subject.
Yes, of course we're not going to, we are a constitutional democracy. We have a very elaborate way of hanging people by removing them from office.
Yeah.
It's synonymous to hanging them. Impeachment is synonymous to hanging them. We are a little bit civilized. We're not medieval. So we will do it. And don't ask us under what provision of the Constitution. The people are supreme. We the people may. But if need be, we shall.
Which is mandatory.
Mandatory.
And that's what Assad and Syria never had, because there's only one party, is a dictatorship, where if Nelson Harvey will today speak against Bashar al-Assad, then you'll be somewhere in Sardinaya prison where you'll be killed or tortured.
And that's why we must enjoy to the fullest.
Yes, the freedoms.
The freedoms.
Yes, yes, Demas.
I'm a fan of these judicial officers that are called activists, because they have been the ones that have really breathed life into the Constitution of Kenya 2010. They have defined what these rights mean, how they can be achieved, and sometimes stopped the state or parliament from infringing on our rights. And so I say, as long as the aim is to uphold the sanctity of the Constitution, be an activist as much as you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
The framers of our Constitution knew very well that regardless of how much we will try, we might end up having judges or even a Chief Justice or a Deputy Chief Justice who may fall short of the glory of Chapter 6 and the related qualities. And that is why JSC was formed. And that is why the biggest failure here may not even be in the Chief Justice, Deputy, or any other person. It is on JSC, which was mandated clearly to deal with this. If they fail, I think we must also now look at it, internalize it, and recalibrate that particular entity.
All right, your time is all appreciated, gentlemen. Many thanks for waking up with us.